Good morning, friends and relatives. Thank you for joining us this morning on our weekly food sovereignty and wellness program. It's hard to believe that we're at the end of February. Oh my gosh, time is just moving along so quickly. I'm real happy to be here this morning to talk about an important topic and something we all need, healthy eating. And I know many times I get off track, and so this really helps me to get back on track by sharing it with all of you as well. So my name is Lynette Tubles. I'm coming to you live from Lame Deer, Montana on the Northern Cheyenne Reservation. And just want to say He honey washte to all my Lakota relatives, and also Pivawona to all our Cheyenne relatives here on the Northern Cheyenne Reservation. Or actually, my companion Philip, he says Pivadamona. So I'd like to just wish everyone a good day, beautiful day. Thank you for joining us. And I'm back in my kitchen here. And I hope you can see all of my stuff that I have here. So I'm just going to adjust this a little bit so you can see what I got going on here. And so today on our Yellowbird Lifeways, our program, our food sovereignty program is just, food sovereignty consists of so much. It's not just about gardening, hunting, going out and getting our own food, but it's all about wellness as well. And so that's why we call it food sovereignty and wellness. And wellness is part of, living a healthy lifestyle. And, food preparation is part of that. When we go out and buy our food, what do we buy? What should we avoid? Should we stay away from? And so that's what our program today is about. And this is just the basic information that can help you get started. And this is, just from the years of me working to change my, to be well and to be healthy in my own life. And these are things that, I do in my own life. So I'm just sharing that with you. And so that's kind of the direction I'm coming from today. And, eating healthy drastically reduces heart disease, diabetes, cancer, all of those illnesses. I mean, even depression, anxiety, all of that stuff, the food, what we put in our bodies is so important. And we always hear that phrase, you are what you eat. And that's so true. And the other thing, the mindset that I want to come from is that, I don't want to come from a real strict place. It's like this way of life. It's like it has to work for you. So that's what I do with myself. It has to work for me. And so when I started shifting, gradually I just started reading and finding out as much information as I could, and just started shifting my habits of when I went, because I'm in my home, I'm the one that purchases the groceries. I'm the primary person that makes our food. And so it's a lot of responsibility. And so I just gradually started, shifting some of these things I'm going to share with you today. So the first thing that I want to share is the basics. Keep it simple. That's the number one thing. That's what I just shared. Keep it simple. And, you can change one thing at a time, like gradually implement what I'm going to share to you, or you could just do it all at one time and just go for it. but the important thing is to just do it. Just do it. Just like Nike says, just do it. That's so important. And then, so when we go to the grocery store, we need to think about purchasing whole foods. So what does whole foods mean? Basically, that's anything that comes from the earth and that's natural and that you can grow, like you can harvest, you can butcher, it's natural. It's all natural. So that's kind of what we mean when we say purchase whole foods, fresh foods. And they tell us that one of the rules, I guess, out there is you should cook whole foods 80 to 90% of the time. And I like that figure because, we all like a pizza, or we all like, other types of foods. And sometimes we get off track. But that gives us the flexibility to get back on track, So I kind of like that rule. 80 to 90% of the time, we should be cooking whole foods with no preservatives, no, none of that in it, just fresh foods that come from the earth. And when we go grocery shopping, one of the other things that's really important is, when you go into the grocery store, all of the whole foods are like on the outer ring of the grocery store. So when you go in, like the fresh produce, dairy, they're out on the outer ring. And everything in the center is all of the other stuff that they want you to buy additionally. So when you go into the grocery store, just be mindful of that and try to stick to the outer ring and don't get sucked up into the center. Because if you get sucked up into the center, you'd probably be buying all sorts of stuff that you shouldn't have. So stick to the outer ring. And then the other thing is, I'm just giving you some tips here, and then I'm going to show you some of these things that I have right here. So the other thing, number 2, is no sugary drinks, or stay away from high fructose corn syrup. Stay away from sugar as much as you can. And also stay away from artificial sweeteners. Those are not good for you at all. Those are chemicals, really. They're made a lot with chemicals. So no sugary drinks like soda, pop, soda, energy drinks are loaded with sugar. Let me see. There's this, so you can just go to the grocery store and you find everything, in that center, inside the ring. The drinks are, you can find everything there, even juices, and just load it with sugar. So try to avoid those things. Stay away from those things. The best thing to drink is just water. You can put things in water, and then remember the 80 to 90% rule. Sometimes, for some reason, sometimes I might crave a Coke, and I might give into that. And I might have a Coke once in a great, great while. And usually when I do drink it, I'll probably only have like a quarter of it, and then that's it. But that gives me the flexibility to say, hey, I need to go back to this and let it go. I satisfied that craving, and that's it. There may come a day when I don't do that at all. Like I can go months and months and months and, without a soda. I don't really drink soda at all, but every now and then I do like to have a Coke. And so that 80 to 90% rule just gives me that flexibility when I do, slip up, or when I do decide that I want to have something like that, I can get back on track right away. That's the most important thing. So the sugar content in all of these drinks and The high sugar, it leads to type 2 diabetes, obesity, liver damage, premature aging, anxiety. There's just so many things. We always hear food is medicine, and that is so true. So what we put in our bodies really affects, it affects our whole system and the way our whole system operates. So we want to put good things in our body so we can function properly and we can function, at 100%. So number 3 is keep healthy foods readily available. And this is a big thing because, we all get cravings and we all want to eat and munch. And a lot of times we might have chips or, other things that aren't really good for us around. And that's what we want to grab. That's what we want to grab, and that's what we go for. But if you keep alternatives, healthy foods, snacks, items available and readily available, like in your fridge, on your counters, fruits, vegetables, nuts, if you keep all those, you'll go for those instead of all the other stuff. So, keep all the stuff out or away so you don't go for it. The best thing is to not even buy it. Sometimes I really crave salt. And if there's chips there, I'll probably go for the chips. So I just, I don't buy it. I don't buy chips. I'll buy alternatives to that. And every now and then, like at family functions or something, I might, buy some chips with a dip, and it's like a treat. So, so that's okay, going back to the 80-90% rule again. And so keep healthy foods readily available. And then number 4 is to eat plenty of greens. So what are greens? Greens are like spinach, kale, any of the green foods that are out there, the fresh vegetables, fresh foods, the salads, that sort of stuff is really important. Our body needs that. And so we need to eat plenty of that every day. And then eat lean meats. And, like buffalo. Our people, were healthy and we ate a lot of protein. Our people, our indigenous people, we ate a lot of protein, and it was centered around the buffalo. And buffalo is lean. It's lean meat. But today, the majority of us don't eat buffalo like we used to. It wasn't our main meal food. And so, when we do have meat, we should make sure that it's lean meat. If you can get buffalo, that's the best way to go, like deer meat, wild game, all of that, chicken, lean chicken, and fish is really important. And I know in my home, we don't, we're plains people. We eat a lot of red meat. And so we don't get as much fish. And, personally, I love salmon, and salmon is like the best to get all the nutrients that you need. And so if you're not a fish person, you might have to supplement as well with some supplements, the omega-3 fatty acids, there's supplements for that. But try to get some fish in your diet. That's something that I need to commit to doing more of is cooking more fish for my family. And then number 6, use whole grain and stay away from white. So what is whole grains? So whole grains are they're not wheat. They're like oats, and they're way better for you than white bread. That's an example. So white bread, let me see, I'll show you here what I have. Okay, so So this says whole grain bread. And this just happens to be gluten-free, so there's no wheat in this at all. And this is actually really good. And so you want to stay away from white bread. And, you know, right now the big thing is gluten-free. Like a lot of us, because the wheat that used to be grown is, you know, now it's really genetically modified. And it's, you know, could be full of pesticides as well. And so it's not the wheat, that the original wheat that used to be grown. And so our bodies have a hard time recognizing it. And we may develop like allergies or intolerance for it. So like our bodies are fighting it. And then it causes all sorts of problems for us, like digestive problems, you know, stomach problems. And so I would say, you know, just focus on whole grains, whole grain bread, and avoid white. So that's just an example of some bread that I have. And then let me see. I made some notes for myself this morning because I didn't want to forget anything. So that's what I'm going off of. Oh, and then whole grains, like whole grains or whites would include things like rice, white flour, anything white. Stay away from that and focus on like wild rice, brown rice, you know, but I love rice. I really like rice. And so another thing that you can do is, you know, you can purchase quinoa, which is high in protein. It's good for you. You can, you know, if you're just getting started and it's hard to let go of those things, you can mix, you can do 50-50. So like you can do quinoa 50% and then the other half your rice. And you can mix it together that way. And then it might be that further along down the road, you start to use more of the quinoa than the white rice. The same with your flour. Like if you're making bread, you know, everybody loves white bread. I love homemade bread. You know, I have a soft spot for that. And so I try to avoid bread because I really, really love bread, unless it's, you know, the whole grain, gluten-free. Then every now and then I'll have a toast or I'll use it maybe for a sandwich, but I try to avoid bread. I don't eat too much bread at all. And so the whole grain, you can do 50-50. You can do 50% white flour and 50% whole grain flour. And now there's all sorts of flours out there that you can purchase. I'll just show this to you here that this is my favorite pancake mix from Pamela's, and it's gluten-free whole grain, and it's pancake mix. And this is made with almond meal. So it's ground up almonds. And I love this stuff. This is my favorite. So that's just an example. You know, now there's all different kinds of flours out there. So you can experiment. And a lot of this stuff, you know, they're starting to carry it in a lot of the stores. Even like Walmart will start to carry a lot of the other alternatives. So look for that. But the thing is, stay away from the white food. And then even the white sugar. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. And then, so stay away from, or use whole grain, stay away from the white. And then 7, eat smaller portions. And so this is just a trick, and it actually works. So, you know, the big plates, the bigger the plate, the more you're going to load it up with food. You know, you're going to put more and more. If you use a small plate, a smaller plate, then it's going to be less food. And when you do eat it up, it's like a trick on your brain. So it's going to make you think that you ate a lot because you ate everything up on your plate, but it's smaller portions. So that's what I do all the time. I always eat off of just a little plate, and So that's just a trick on your mind. So eat smaller portions. And the other thing is, if you think about your stomach, they say your stomach is the size of your fist. So if you think about that, that's not that much food at all. And we have become accustomed to eating so much, of like stuffing ourselves in that we have to have a lot of food. And personally, I do that too when I cook. Like, my biggest fear is that we're not going to get enough to eat. And I think some of that goes back, that's probably historical trauma. And it probably goes way back when our people were starving, and they didn't get enough. And then when they were put on reservations and they were given rations and there was never enough food, they weren't allowed to go out and hunt for themselves. And, so we have that trauma that's passed down through our DNA. And so sometimes I think about that because in my own personal life, I always cook a lot, and I'm afraid, someone's not going to get enough to eat. So even when we have feasts and meals, I cook a lot, and we always have a lot of leftovers, that we'll eat on the next couple of days. But, I think about sometimes that must be where that comes from. Or even as a child, some of us weren't in the best of situations, and maybe there's the child hunger in this country or in the world is, there's a lot of hungry children out there. And so when you get older and you are able to purchase food and have enough, like, you start to purchase a lot of food and you start to stockpile and so, those are things that we should just think about. But if going back to our stomach is only that size. So we should not be eating more than that in a meal. And today's plates, they're huge. So if you do a small plate and eat the size of your fist, that's plenty. And you think about our ancestors as well. They were lean, they were healthy, and they didn't eat a lot. They didn't eat a lot of food, and they were very healthy, very strong. So you think about those things. But yeah, so that I always find that interesting. Our stomach is only the size of our hand. The other another thing to do is before you eat, drink a whole cup of water. Just drink, and then it's going to make you full. And so when you do eat, you're not going to eat as much. So these are just some things to help you, reduce your portion size, so we're not overeating. And me, when I cook, like, I cook homemade meal and it's something that I really like, I have a hard time with that because I want to go back for seconds. And, so that's one, a couple of things to help us with that. And then add probiotic foods to your diet. So probiotic and fermented foods. So this is, you always hear about gut health. Gut health is so important. I hear some people say that our gut is like our second brain, and some people even say it's our first brain, and it regulates like your whole body, your gut does. And so if you're eating unhealthy and eating all of these processed foods, and our body doesn't recognize all the chemicals, like the preservatives they use to process foods, are like frozen foods. If you go to the fast food places, you're eating processed foods. So, they're loaded with preservatives and chemicals to help store them. And so if you're eating a lot of that kind of stuff, like chips and, sodas and chips and just all that junk food, your body doesn't recognize that. It has a hard time digesting it and processing it. And so it causes a lot of problems in your gut. And then from there, it causes you to get sick. So there's a lot of illnesses that are going on today that are because, of how we eat. And so we used to have a natural balance in our gut of foods that helped the bacteria. And today, everything is so sterilized. So even like, say, our ancestors would go out and pick berries. And you know how you go out and pick berries and you just eat them right from the tree. You know, we do that a lot. We go berry picking and we'll eat, you know, this past year, I was looking at all my pictures from last year, and it was just a beautiful, beautiful summer. Our gardens were so good. We went out and we went berry picking, and we found wild strawberries, wild raspberries. It was just amazing. I was just looking at all my pictures. But when we eat directly from that, sometimes there's the good bacteria, and then we would get the good bacteria a lot of different ways a long time ago. But today, everything is very sterilized. And then how we're eating, we're not getting that anymore. So there's a lot of foods that you can eat to help you with that. And some of those would be like yogurt. There's a lot of fermented foods like kimchi. You can eat, it's just went out of my mind. Sauerkraut. Yeah, sauerkraut. I love sauerkraut, and I eat a lot of sauerkraut, and it just helps with your digestion. It helps with, you know, gut health. So all those things are really important. And one of the things that I do personally every day is I take a probiotic. And I meant to grab my probiotic and bring it out here, but I forgot. So they sell them, you know, you can go to Walmart, you can go to the health food stores, get a quality probiotic. And, you know, I take that every day just for gut health, because some days I don't get the fermented foods, or I don't get the probiotic foods. And yogurt is another one. I can't remember if I mentioned that, but yogurt is a good one to help with that. So those are all things. There's many more, but these are just, so I want to remind everyone, this is just the first, these are the basics that I'm just sharing with you. And there's more detailed information in all of these areas that I'm sharing with you that will come back again. And I'll probably bring someone that is the expert in all of this, but these are things that I've just learned along the way that I'm sharing with you. So, okay, so the probiotic foods, fermented foods are really important. And then, and when I cook with coconut oil or olive oil. And there's certain things that I will use butter, you know, to cook with. And just because of the flavor that it adds. But for the most part, if you're cooking at high heat, coconut oil is better for high heat. Olive oil is better for low heat. And I'll just show you how the coconut oil, I'm going to step out over here and I'll just show you. Okay, so this is coconut oil here. And so if I'm cooking at high heat, I'll use coconut oil. If I'm cooking at low heat, then I'll just use some olive oil. And if I'm baking with vegetables, like roasting vegetables in the oven, I'll use olive oil with that, and the taste is so good. If I'm cooking at high heat, like if I'm frying something at higher heat, then I'll use the coconut oil. And then there's certain things that I do that I do cook with butter as well. Like my kids like their eggs with butter. And so, you know, back to the 80-90%, you know. So that's what I cook with. And then 10 is probably one of the most important things is water. You know, drinking a lot of water is so important. And it's something that I have to work at every day. I drink a lot of water, but the water that they say that you need, you know, is quite a bit. So I bought this and I really like it. These little tricks that you get, So this says, you can see it here. So it says 8 a.m. ready. So you fill this up in the morning, 8 a.m., you drink to there. 9 a.m., you drink to there, 10, 11, 12, 1, and then that should be gone. Then you fill it up again and you start all over, 2, 3, 4. So it just helps you stay on track for the amount of water that you need to be drinking. I love this. It's just, I bought one for both my girls and they really like it too. And so you can do that, but you can also, if you don't have that, you can just, just drink a lot of water. That's the most important thing. And I think that's a gallon. I'm pretty sure that's a gallon of water. So if you drink 2 of those, that's a gallon of water a day. And, and it helps with processing food, it helps with everything. And the word, how in our language we say mini wichoni, and that's, water is life. And it's so true. Water is life. We really need our water. And so that's number 10. So, the program, we said, well, what should we be buying and what should we get rid of? And so that's what I'm going to talk about next. So, we should be buying vegetables, fruits. These are all whole foods. When I first started out, I talked about whole foods. So, vegetables, fruits, like I have here, I just, carrots. I have the small baby carrots. I also buy the long carrots, the whole carrots as well. And I keep these on hand because I like to remember one of the things I said was keep healthy foods on hand, readily available. And so that's what I do. Is like I have these these carrots, and I have them someplace in the fridge where we can all see them, because you're going to grab for what you see. So when we see these, that's what we grab for when we get those cravings or we're just hungry. Like I get so busy during the day, sometimes I forget to eat. And so I'll just go grab carrots and munch on them. I love sugar snap peas. That's what these are here. They're so good to just snack on. And so, that's what I do. I'll snack on those. And then also cucumbers. So I like these long English cucumbers. So what I will do is I will wash them and I'll just slice them up and put them in a container or a Ziploc bag and put them in the fridge. So that's what we can snack on too. So it just helps with those cravings. You're eating something healthy. These kind of foods basically don't have much calories at all, but their nutritional value is really, really good. So what we want to do with whole foods is we want to purchase, they call them nutrient dense foods. So they have a lot of nutrients in them, a lot of vitamins in them. And like food is medicine. The foods that are in there, all those vitamins, they're going to help us stay healthy, especially in times like this with the pandemic. So we want to, that's the kind of foods we want to purchase. So whole vegetables, fruits. I always make sure I have like bananas and apples. My kids like apples. And in the summertime, we have a lot more fruits that are available to us. Well, now you can pretty much buy anything at the grocery store. So it's all there. But the important thing is to eat plenty of fruits and vegetables. And lean meat. So these are things that you could be buying at the grocery store. Vegetables, fruit, lean meats, fish, and then nuts and seeds are another one that I buy a lot of. So I have a lot of, and these are things that I snack on throughout the day as well. So these are all, this one is, it says raw energy nut mix. So this is all different kinds of nuts in here. And then these are cashews, and you can just, I have these out and I just take from the bags. This one is almonds. And I love almonds. And one of the other snacks that I like to eat during the day is blueberries and almonds. And I love that. That's like my favorite. Or sometimes for breakfast, I will get yogurt and I'll put blueberries and almonds. Oh, and the other thing about yogurt too that just came to mind is look at the sugar content, because some of the yogurt has a lot of sugar in there. And, you know, I'll buy some of the, I like the Greek yogurt. So I'll buy some of that with the fruit, like at the bottom, and you got to mix it yourself. But because my kids like those, but personally, I just buy the plain Greek yogurt. It has no sugar or any of that in it. And then I make my own. So I will put honey, raw honey in there. And then sometimes I'll put blueberries and almonds in there as well. And it's so good. And so you're getting blueberries, you're getting the vitamins from the blueberries, you're getting protein from the almonds, and then yogurt has a lot of protein, and then you're getting the good gut health as well. So all of that is together. So I use a lot of nuts, and I eat a lot of those. Oh, and the other thing, as you can see, I'm kind of down to the bottom. I got to go grocery shopping, but these are pumpkin seeds. So pumpkin seeds are so good for you, and they are high in zinc. And right now, with the pandemic and the COVID-19 virus, zinc helps keep your immune system up. And so, this back to the food is medicine. Pumpkin seeds have a lot of zinc in there to help keep us well. And so the seeds, the other thing that I cook with is, so this is a whole big bag. I buy things in bulk because, we live far away, like 100 miles from the bigger town. And so I buy things in bulk. And this is flax seed. Flax is really important to our diet, and it has a lot of fiber in it. So what I do is I buy it big like that, and then I'll just put it in a jar. And so you can see, and I put this in everything that I cook with, and especially every morning when I have oatmeal, I will put flax in there, and it has a lot of fiber in it, and it's so good for you. And a long time ago, our ancestors used to get their flax and fiber through the buffalo too, because the buffalo would eat, the prairie grass, and flax was one of the things that would grow. And so, that's how we would get that back then. So, those are just things to think about. And then this is what it looks like whole. So this is ground flax. And this is the whole seed. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, that's the whole seed. So if I'm going to do this, I make sure that I cook it pretty good. This I'll just sprinkle into my oatmeal, or you can even put it in your smoothies. If you make smoothies, you can put it in there. And let me see, the other is, I was going to show you the other thing that is really good for you is chia seeds. So I got chia, the same thing. These are good for smoothies, and they're good for oatmeal. I put these in my oatmeal. You can put these in your yogurt. So the chia seeds are really good for you as well. And let me see, what else do I have here? So lean meats and fish, nuts and seeds, beans are really good for you. I grew up, eating beans a lot with my grandparents. They loved beans, so we would have pinto beans or navy beans, lima beans, and it was so good. And then, and they also have a lot of protein. So there's I hear different things. They say like you should, with your meat, you should plan meals throughout the week where you don't have any red meat in your meal, that you could just replace it with other sources of protein. And beans are a good one for that. Um, Beans have protein and they're healthy for you. So, that's something you can just replace. So that's something that there's a couple meals through the week that we don't have meat, but for the most part, we do have a lot of meat in our home. So I try to purchase lean meat. And today, if you can purchase locally, like from your local ranchers that don't use, all the antibiotics and chemicals when they're raising their beef, and so those are all things that you can do locally. You can purchase. I know there's a lot of ranchers around here that do grow their own or raise their own cattle that are antibiotic free. That's really important because those antibiotics, they're in the meat and then they're passed to you when you cook the meat and when you eat it. And so it makes us resistant to antibiotics. And, there's a lot to think about. When you think about all this, there's a lot that, the history of food and where it comes from. So, a long time ago, like we knew where our food came from because we grew it ourselves, we hunted, we did all of that. And it was, that's what food sovereignty is, that ability to be able to feed yourself and take care of yourself. And so that's, it's like, that's what we're going back to. It's really important. And especially for wellness, it's really important. Okay, lunch meat and fish. I'm just going back to my notes here. Oh, okay, so honey. So we were talking about sugar the other day, or earlier, sorry. So white sugar, stay away from white sugar. And if you are gonna purchase sugar, you can purchase pure sugar, and it looks like this. So it kind of is brown, and this is raw sugar. So it's not bleached or anything. It's just raw sugar. So I have this on hand, in case I'm going to be baking or anything like that, but we really don't use sugar in our home. And this was the biggest step for our home, was to quit using sugar. And so instead, what we use is honey. And this is the only honey I have. I'm running low on my honey. So this was, it's raw, unfiltered honey. So that's what I always try. And you have to be careful of these, because I was reading this report that talked about how a lot of the honey now, it's like they mix it with syrup, like high fructose corn syrup. And so it's not real raw, unfiltered honey. It's labeled as honey. And a lot of it is coming in from overseas. So, we have to be careful. Like I do a lot of shopping at the natural food store, health store, because, that, a lot of the food, most of the food that comes through there is good for you, and they're chemical free. So, and that's what organic means. And I also support a lot of our local honey people. So I'm always buying local honey anytime I see it and it's available. I purchase it, because there's also, back to the food is medicine. There's a lot of properties in there, a lot of things that are going to help our immune system, and they're going to keep us strong and help us get well. So that's why a lot of the natural remedies that we have, you put honey in there. And so, honey is really good. The raw, unfiltered honey, that's really important. And another point I wanted to make was, one time I had someone that came into my home. They were guests here, and I cooked a big meal, and they were joking about it, but it made me really think. One of the things they said was, "Oh, you're one of those Indians that buy organic. You're one of those rich Indians," or they made a comment like that. And I just laughed about it, but I really thought about it. And then I said to her, I said, well, it's either pay now or pay later. And, it goes back to, we need to know where our food is coming from. And, my health is important. My family's health is important. So I do try to buy that when I can, but it's not always available. I understand that. And especially in our communities where we're considered like a food desert. So you don't have a lot of those options. And that's why it's so important to grow our own food, our, our food sovereignty garden program. And so we're going to be gearing up for that. And I hope, that we do have a lot of new participants, because it's really important when you grow your own food, exactly, what is in your food, the love and energy that you put into it too. So where it comes from, that it was grown with, love, prayer, good energy, good intentions. And that's what you put in yourself, and that's what you put in your family. And ultimately, it's going to help with your health. And so, that was the comment I made to her, but I said it in a good way and in a loving way. And so, it's not about class or anything like that. It's about, I want to put good things into my family and myself, and I want to be well. And a lot of times, you just do the best you can too, because organic, I realize that it does cost more. You do have to pay a little bit more. But I think if you look at in the long run, it's going to help with your health, all your health and wellness. So I just wanted to share that as well. So everything that you purchase, the other thing is maple syrup. So I was talking about sugars. So pure maple syrup, that's what you should be using, on your pancakes that you make. And you can even put it in your coffee. So I use honey in my coffee. So I have my coffee here. So I use honey in my coffee, and it's so good. I don't use sugar. I do have to, I like my coffee, but I like it sweetened. So I use honey for that. And you can also put pure maple syrup in your honey. So you want to avoid, the high fructose corn syrup. So a lot of the syrups you buy at the store, it's not real. It'll say maple flavored. So anytime something says flavored, you have to really look at it, because it's more than likely that it's not the real thing, but it just flavored as, maple syrup, but it's not really maple syrup. So those are things that you need to look for. And let me see. So pure raw sugar. Oh, the other thing is stevia. That's, stay away from all the chemical sweeteners. And those are, that's what they are. They're chemicals. So they're sweet, and they're not sugar, but they're chemicals. They're chemically created. And so, they're not good for you. So instead, you could use stevia. And stevia is a plant. It's the plant stevia, and it sweetens your coffee or your tea, or whatever you need the sweetness for. And it's better for you than the artificial sweeteners. So stay away from the artificial sweeteners. The chemicals are known to cause cancer and cause illnesses. So you have to be careful of that. So those are all things that we should purchase, and we should be eating, and we should be cooking. And so what not to eat? I just talked about the high fructose corn syrup. It's in everything. It's in everything. So you need to start reading your labels if you're not sure. and you'll see if it's like loaded with high fructose corn syrup, like our cereals, everything has high fructose corn syrup. So you need to take a look at that. And, you know, one of the other things I wanted to say about corn, I talked a little bit about that with wheat, but corn is so genetically modified. Like it's not the corn that our ancestors from a long time ago grew and ate. That's why we have to protect our corn that we have and keep it pure and keep the genetics of it pure. Because today the corn is so genetically modified, like that's another thing that like our body can't recognize it because it's different. It's not our original corn. And so they take that, and that's, you know, how they make high fructose corn syrup. So, you know, that's another thing to think about. So, you know, just be mindful of all the sugar-based products. There's, you know, everything has sugar, everything has high fructose corn syrup. Stay away from your sodas, pop, energy drinks, all those. Those are loaded with sugar. Stay away from white bread, vegetable oil. I gave you some alternatives that you can use instead of the vegetable oil. Even like the canola oil, you know, that's not the best for you either. Stay away from processed foods, any of the processed foods. I know right now a lot of the kids, you know, my family included, some of them, they really like the noodles. And, you know, the noodles that are, you know, there's ways you can get noodles at some of the stores where you can make it, but a lot of these noodles, they have no nutritional value at all. It's like there's no nutrition in them, and it's almost just like a filler. You know, you cook them in the microwave and it fills you, but no nutritional value. And that's why a lot of our young people they're getting sick. They're not getting the nutrients. It leads to depression, anxiety, you know, all of those things. So the food that we eat, and then they're loaded, you know, they're eating all the processed foods, all the high sugar foods, high chemicals, the energy drinks. And so their bodies are not getting the nutrients that they need, and, you know, to be well, even emotionally and mentally, not just physically. And so those are all things that we should be thinking about. And be cautious of all of those things that say low fat. You know, those are processed as well. So, and usually when that says low fat, that means a lot of times it has a lot of sugar, because they replace, you know, those fats with sugar to make it taste better. So just be cautious of that. So that is all I have. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. So the important thing is to know where your food comes from. And, you know, I'll just throw this in about being wellness. Not only the food and the water and all of that is important, but sleep is really important. So try to get enough sleep, because all of these are going to keep you healthy and keep you, you know, right now in our community, I think I read the other day that we had 0 cases and 0 new cases, and there was no one with the coronavirus. I think I read that. It could have changed by now, but I read that, and that was awesome. And we need to keep ourselves well. So, you know, there's a lot of things that I think contributed to that. But I feel too that, you know, all of the immune support and the supplements that we help distribute, I think that had some to play in that as well. And we want to continue to do that. And so we're getting ready for another distribution. So if anyone out there, especially in our local community, needs some of the supplements, and we're also getting elder kits from from last week, we had Ann White Hat on. And so we're going to be getting some elder kits from Ann that we're going to be giving out in our community too. So we're gearing up for that. But it's really important to take care of yourself. So sleep is really important. Water, some sort of exercise, even if it's just going outside and walking down the driveway and coming back, or the more of that you can do, the better, but start somewhere. And I'm really inspired by an elder that I know, and that's really close to me. And, she's in her 80s, and she told me one time the way she gets her exercise in, because she can't really go out, is that she walks down back and forth down her hallway to the other end of the house. And she does that like so many times to keep herself moving. And I also know other elders that do stretching exercises when they first wake up and when they go to bed. So, if our elders can do that, we should be able to do that too. And the elders out there, I encourage them to do that for themselves as well. Stretch, it's going to help with your mobility, and it will help so you don't lose your balance and fall. So keeping your body moving, your arms, just working them that way. So exercise is really important, and it's good for the endorphins as well. It's good for our mental well-being, our emotional well-being. It's a natural high that you get when you exercise. So that's really important, and stretching. And the other thing is releasing stress. Exercising releases stress, but also, if you don't find a way to release that, it's like a burden. Every day it grows, and the burden gets heavier and heavier on your back. And then pretty soon, stress can cause you to get sick. It causes your immune system to decrease, and then sickness can come in. So, be careful or be mindful of that as well, the stress that you carry. And we need to find ways to release that stress through, prayer, meditation, where I'm so thankful that we have our ways, we have our sweat lodge that we go in and we pray and we release that. Walking, going out in the hills, going out in nature, all of that helps. So, keep that up if you're doing it. If you're not doing it, I encourage you to find some way to release that in a healthy way. And so those are just all of the things that I use to help myself. And this program today, I'm real thankful for it, because it really helps me get on track, because sometimes I do get off track and I need reminders. I need to remind myself as well. And just like last night, we had a really busy week working, and we were working late last night, and everybody was like, they wanted pizza. So we had pizza last night, which is okay. So I really like that, 80 to 90% of the time you need to eat whole foods, and pizza too. I know my oldest daughter, Crystal, she makes homemade pizza a lot, and it's so good. So that, we know where it comes from. So, so that's my show for today. I just want to thank all of you for joining us, and I hope, you got something from it. I hope, if we can just reach one person, that's great. We're doing what we need to do, but if we could reach even more, that's better. So, this program, it's all about food sovereignty and wellness, health and wellness. It's all connected, mind, body, spirit. There's no separation from that. So we have to take care of ourselves. And I encourage each and every one of you to do that. You're important, you matter, and your family needs you. They care about you, especially if you're mothers. Take care of yourself. And so we can be there, for our families for a long time. And, the men, everyone, So just want to say thank you for joining us. And if you like our work and some of the things we're doing, you can go onto our website, yellowbirdlifeways.org, to find out how you can help us, or how you can support us in any way. We appreciate that. And you can come back onto our Facebook page and view this. And we also have our YouTube page up. So if you want to share this with people that don't have Facebook, you can also go onto our YouTube page. I think it might be a couple days before this is on there, and you can watch it from the YouTube page as well. And that is Yellowbird Lifeways. So have a beautiful day, have a beautiful week, and we'll see you back next week.